Welcome, everyone. This is Pounding Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I'm joined by Krister,
Yoo-hoo!
Cinders,
Hello.
and Sanswinda.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. We finally have the release of Update 46.1. I know we've been expecting it for the last couple of weeks, and now it is finally here. So it's time for the infamous release notes.
Of doom.
Yay!
There are 3 new Kingdoms of Harad instances here. Ekal Nebi, the Fallen Palace, which is a 6-player instance. Kolthral, the Wailing Hold, which is a 6-player instance. And the Treasure Caves of Horum Khana, a 3-player instance. And of course, they also have solo modes and 2-player modes. So the reports I have heard so far is that the solo versions are a little bit on the rough side. Now, I did try them out on Bulwer, and I thought that they were a little bit rough. Apparently, that assessment is probably not going to change when I do have a chance to actually try them myself on live. So, with that, has anyone had an opportunity to actually run some of these?
I have not, but I have heard stories from people who have.
Ooh.
And I've been told the treasure caves in particular are a little bit on the rougher side in terms of ability to complete.
Yeah.
That's the one that people have primarily been talking about more than the others.
Okay.
I have witnessed many Daxamats. I can clarify later.
Oh, okay. We can hear about that later. Yes. Anyway, these instances are accessible to level 160 characters that have acquired access to the Kingdoms of Harad expansion. Tiers 1 and 2 of these new instances are now available. Tier 3 of the new instances arrives at noon Eastern on February 12th. The Leading the Charge deed is available to earn until 3 a.m. Eastern, -5 GMT, on March 19th. You can learn more about Kingdoms of Harad on LOTRO.com. You can access the Instance Finder using Control-J or through the main menu button in-game. So there you are. We have Tiers 1 and 2 available, and we have Tier 3 coming along on March 12th. And that probably means that around March 12th, we're probably going to have another update, I'm going to be guessing, so that they can have that all ready. Actually, did I say that on Februuri 12th? Yeah, on February 12th. Yeah, sorry, February 12th. So on February 12th, I guess we're going to be expecting to see an update next week. I guess about either that or the Tier 3, because unless the Tier 3 is already in the game. Oh, let's go and see what we have here. The other big thing is first phase of scaling UI has arrived. Update 46.1 includes the addition of a new user interface scaling feature to the game. Access these new settings in the UI settings tab of the options menu. Scaling is currently supported for the cursor, more than 50 individual UI elements, and a global UI setting. Additionally, many full-screen UI elements have been updated to support widescreen displays without stretching, including the login screen, character creation and selection, loading screens, and the map window. The map UI can also now be toggled either full screen and panel modes in the UI settings. And when I'm looking at the screenshot they give of the options menu for the UI scale, they show the cursor setting as being as 1.6. So far when I've tried it, it was only going to integers. So I am wondering, am I using it incorrectly, or is something off? Because I had tried it, I've been wishing for something between 1 and 2 on the cursor size setting.
I believe Pyleaf's exact quote was, "I'd like 1.5."
Yes. I guess that was pretty close. But apparently, this sample shows that it is possible, so maybe I was not using it properly. Either that or this screenshot was taken from a later build and maybe the next update will have it.
That's kind of
Well,
what I was thinking. That if you're not seeing it yet, it's probably just not there.
yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, because I
Also,
was trying to think that your saved LOTRO settings wouldn't impact something like that. I think so.
yeah, I would think so, right. As for news and notes, premium homes will once again return to 90% of their homesteading coin cost when sold. Note that premium houses that are released automatically as part of the transfer process will continue to return 100% of their homestead coining cost via in-game mail on the destination world. Foreclosed premium houses will continue to refund 80% of their homesteading coin cost. Some trace-free tokens, sealed trace-free, enhancement rune, and other packages that were in the mail system when players logged out for update 46 or 46.0.1 are displaying a general error when attempting to open them because they are missing their max content level. This issue has now been corrected as long as those packages were no longer in the mail system when first logging into update 46.1. I really should have put out a PSA on this one last week so that people would remember to actually claim those if they did have them in the mail system.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What were you supposed to claim?
Well, what happened is that if you had it, let's say you had one of those enhancement
Oh,
rune items that open up to whatever the current level cap is. Well, apparently there was an error in the system that when 46 first came out,
okay.
that it would not recognize properly because you'd be, let's say, level 152, but the item didn't know that 152 existed, so it was giving a general error in there. Apparently, some people had things and were mailing them or something like that. And that's right.
Okay.
There's only affected ones that were in the mail system. I think if you had it already in inventory at the time of the update, everything was fine. But if you're mailing it to another character or something like that, I'm not into mailing things like that, so I didn't personally experience this.
It's fair.
But I know that some people have been known to mail goods to and from their alts.
Yeah, don't people use that as kind of like a shadow bank almost?
Yes, that's sort of the people who are most likely probably hit by this thing, where people were using it as a shadow ban because they didn't want their enhancement runes. Yeah, actually, yeah, I guess they wanted to hold on to these enhancement runes until the update, so that they would be available for opening for 160, but they didn't want them taking up the inventory space, so things like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. And resolved an issue where some players could not withdraw account-bound items from their character or shared storage after transferring from a legacy world. Items incorrectly marked as bound to another account are now accessible as intended. Now let's go into festivals and events. Legendary servers, ring rate spawn announcements should now appear in all regions. I guess so that people who might be interested in it will be able to see them. Of course, if you're not on the legendary server, you're probably not going to be interested in. So no, they won't appear on the other servers, fortunately. And as for other festivals events, a mission to bring good cheer will now also advance when completing mission Crown of Hamat quests. Okay, so apparently there were some missions that were not giving it, the ones that were added in the latter part of the previous expansion. All right, classes. The renewed defenses effect once again lasts for 3 minutes. All DPS specializations now have an inherent minus 50% threat generated by damage modifier, increasing the overall damage threat differential between DPS and tank specializations. For tank specializations, threat generated from damage has been increased by 50%. So,
But you can still pull threat off your tank, even
appar-
at lower levels.
that's just those
Ask me
DPS
how I
characters.
know.
Yes. Yeah. Some DPS players really are trying to see whether or not they could pull off. They think they haven't succeeded until they have pulled threat off of the tank.
I'm just gonna say sometimes it happens unintentionally as well.
Yeah.
The amount of frustration from the captain and guardian yesterday, I would say, suggests that even at lower levels, like mid 60s, it's still totally capable for DPS to pull aggro right off of a tank and for a tank to struggle to regain aggro, despite the changes of the update.
So, well, one of the problems is that sometimes DPS really thinks that the best thing to do is to be the first to hit, especially those that forget that they're not playing their tank at the moment, right?
And are playing a burglar. Yes.
Yes.
I'm just saying though, it is possible still, so don't just be like, "Oh, the tanks can get 50 more." Also, it's connected to their ability to do damage, and frankly, not all tank builds do great damage.
Okay. Reducing threat copy overhead from plus 100% threat to plus 10% threat. The potencies of all additional threat effects, such as moderately increased threat or greatly increased threat, have been doubled. So plus 100%. Let Fly no longer has an induction, now has a 40-meter range, and now applies bonus threat for guardians and champions in tanking specializations. So that means then that your guardians and champions can now do the ranged pulls. The Jarret Menesh travel skills no longer take a scenic detour to Khanagur. Okay. In travel
I
skills.
say I do like that description of what was happening, though. It was just a scenic detour. We're not lost. Our pathing isn't bad. It's just a scenic detour. Just taking in the sights.
All right. Travel skills to Ahaba and Zijana are now more centrally located. Oh, yes, I do remember the Zijana one being in a rather weird location. So next time I go there, I guess I'll find out if it's in the right place. For Bjornings, Nature's Mend will no longer play its unique sound for every ally targeted. The mounted skill Bee Swarm no longer forces your target to move away from you, which is good news based on some of the things I've seen. Vicious Claws will no longer make references to the deprecated skill Mark of Bjorn. Maul is once again raid wide. Maul now consumes 5 wrath per second and 10 wrath per second while specialized in the hide. The Roar Maul now lasts 6 seconds, down from 8.5 seconds. The Hide Maul now lasts as long as you can sustain it with Wrath, and its cooldown has been reduced to 5 seconds. The Hide Maul no longer taunts enemies, but does generate increased threat each time it deals damage. And the Hide Maul now affects enemies up to 10 meters away from you and has a base target count of 10, which is up from 5. So, anyone have any comments on the Bjorning side? I don't think any of us normally play Bjornings.
Nope, no comment.
All right. All right, so let's go to the Brawler. Fulgurant Strike's cooldown has been reduced by 10 seconds. Mighty Upheaval can no longer knock down foes by default. And also the cooldown is reduced from 15 seconds down to 12 seconds. The Mighty Upheaval knockdown and damage tracery has been split and is now one tracery for knockdown chance plus 65% to 80% chance, and a second tracery for damage plus 28% to 38.5% damage, replacing the Fulgurative Strike tracery. Strike to the Sky can no longer knock enemies upward, so it no longer strikes them to the sky. And the cooldown has been reduced from 10 seconds down to 8 seconds.
Well,
All right.
I did
I
like
feel
making
like-
enemies go flying, but
Well, then why do you call it a strike to the sky if it's not going to knock the enemies upwards?
well, now you're just striking at the sky itself.
Exactly. It sounds almost like you
Futilely.
missed.
Let me just punch the air.
Oh, well. For the burglar, the mounted skill trick impugn character no longer changes your target's aggression. Now for the captain, so maybe Krista will. Oh, actually, no, we didn't have mounted skills yet, I believe, on the characters we were playing yesterday, so.
Nope, no, we did not. So I have no opinions.
Okay. For the captain, Routing Cry now has a 12-meter radius when specialized in the Leader of Men.
Cool.
Gallant Display effects now tiered down upon expiration.
Well, I guess they had to make it that way, but fine.
Hammer stroke damage increased slightly.
I
Gallant
use the sword.
Yes. All right. Gallant Display and Routing Cry damage increase slightly when specialized in Leader of Men.
Okay.
And when specialized in Leader of Men, Battle Shout will now hit multiple enemies around your target.
That sounds wunderbar.
Because
Because you think about it, when you're screaming, it's just not one person is impacted by your screaming. Everybody is.
Yeah, the entire room hears it. Let's go to the champion then. Champion's challenge cooldown reduced to 10 seconds when specializing in the Martial Champion. Champion's challenge debuff has been removed. Horn of Gondor damage has been increased by 10%. Trading into the Martial Champion now reduces the True Heroics cooldown by 80 seconds. True Heroics, the Martial Champion, no longer restores allies' power. Horn of Champions now has a 12-meter radius. It no longer debuffs enemies, and its cooldown has been reduced to 12 seconds. 8 seconds when traded to rank 2, and now costs 2 fervor. Clobber still consumes fervor, but can now be used with no fervor. Thank you very much. At least about the part of being able to use it without fervor, because yeah. The increased second wind restore potency contribution from fervor and adamant based value increased from -5% to -20%, -40% with max fervor, and merciful strikes occasional power cost spikes have been removed. Okay, now for the Guardian. Actually, didn't we thoroughly discuss all of this already? Do you want to hear this again, Cinders?
I will just say I stand by what I said last time, which is they can change names all they want. Please don't take away damage. Please increase threat. And I don't play red lines, so most of this stuff I don't actually know anything to have an opinion on. So that's Emma's blue line all the way. She is a tank. That is what she does. She's quite good at it, and so well, I think she's good at it. I've not had any complaints. I have had requests for her to tank, so I'm going to say she's good at it, and y'all can argue with me in the comments later.
All right. So therefore, when you want to do damage, you take on a different character.
Yes. Because M's damage is about null. Yeah. That's why I run around with people who actually deal damage.
You surround yourself by wild people.
Yes.
Yeah, like my runekeeper go ping.
And then walk around and complain about the fact that they keep pulling all of the threat off.
It is a delicate thing, threat.
They're like, we've got somebody back in the group. I'm like, sorry. I'm trying. I've hit all of my taunts. I can't pull it back.
All right.
I have not tried running with a group since these changes have been made. I should clarify that. It's possible my taunt skill will be working better. I don't know.
All right.
Also, I do want to say, because this is in here and I saw it also, we talked about it last time and I saw it again in the comments today on it, which is anything for the Guardian that relies on block and parry responses is going to feel clunky. It's going to be hard to use. Anything that increases block and parry responses is going to be helpful, because a whole bunch of our skills rely on the block and parries, and things like being able to pop your heals and things like that. It really sucks when it relies on blocks and parries, and those have been messed with and they're not popping up. It messes up a rotation. So, definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on.
Okay. Anyway, for those in, I'm assuming Kingblade is red line, right?
I believe so, because I
Yeah.
think blue line is like protector.
Right. And then anyway, they have their skill damage has been increased by 10%. As I said, it doesn't affect senders, but it does allow the Kingblade Guardians at least to do a little bit more damage. And I think the most controversial one was all the stuff they did with Brutal Charge and rename it to Virtuous Charge, I guess, is reasonable, but I know some people were complaining about the fact that the buff disappears when you hit a foe and knock them down. The thing ends there now, because they felt that the intention was to charge to the enemy and bash them down was the intent of it. So therefore, they decided that they will have the effect end when they actually procced the knockdown and hit someone and proc the knockdown on there. So that's the most controversial thing I heard into there. We have numerous things in the show notes about all that was changed in there. And there are also number of changes in the Hunter. Now, the notes for the Hunter are actually about a third of the size of those for the Guardian, but apparently the ones for the Hunter are the ones that required them to do a trait reset, so they must have been substantial ones, even though there are fewer of them. All Hunter skill damage has been increased. For most skills, damage has been increased by 15%. Some key Bowmaster skills have been increased by 20%. That way, the Hunters will have an easier time to pull threat from the tank.
Probably.
Yeah.
Not that they struggled in the past.
Yes, but they need that to keep up with that plus 50%.
Some of my favorite people play Hunters, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
All right. Induction times for barbed arrow and swift bow have been reduced lately. Do you have any words on this, Sans?
I mean,
come on, your damage just increased. Your inductions just were reduced. I'd say you guys are having a good time right now.
Okay, so I did test a redline build. Because I was hopeful with the increased damage that it would, like, offset. No. Like, yeah, upshot can still one-shot things pretty easily. Sometimes penetrating shot can, but that's true in blue line too, so I went back to blue line.
Okay.
It took fewer shots to kill mobs, and there was less induction time, and I could keep moving. So,
All right.
I don't know, you might be able to parse more on redline ultimately with a
Let's go.
long
Volley's
drawn out
base.
fight, but
Oh, yeah.
shorter fights, I don't know.
Yeah. Not to be significant.
No.
Volley's base effect is now granted as a bonus trait when specialized in the Huntsman. And Volley now only buffs focus fender damage. The original Volley trait is now inaccessible to Bowmaster and Trapper hunters. Huntsman bleed removal bonus damage effect is potency has been increased. The traits Plant Feet and Critical Precision has swapped places, making Critical Precision a Bowmaster exclusive trait. Swift Mercy's base proc and chance has been increased from 20% to 30%. Deadly Precision has been moved to a position shallower in the Bowmaster trait tree and is now 2 ranks. And the Strength trait has been moved into the Bowmaster's passive capstone trait position. An issue with the Storm of Arrows trait tooltip has been fixed, and also an issue with the Huntsman's Blades trait tooltip has been fixed, and the Ubari armor of the Jungle Ghost 6-piece bonus once again correctly adds a stun and interrupt to Explosive Arrow. Alright, let's see. It looks like a lot of this stuff doesn't affect my Yellow Line Hunter, so no. So as far as I can tell, I mean, obviously the 15% addition to the hunter skills is obviously going to affect that.
And it's
And
nice, but it's not really actually noticeable.
Right. And I am going to guess that the reset is because of the moving of volley.
That would be my guess too.
Because it's a trait that some people might have traded in there. It's no longer accessible, so they're going to. So I think the fact that they just moved somebody to a position where they can no longer access it. At least that's what Sans and I think.
One that became a Bowmaster exclusive trait, I was probably something that I would have traded into as well, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
For
but
the Lore
it doesn't
Master.
feel that much different, just for the
record. Okay. It doesn't feel that much different. Noted. For the Lore Master, the mounted skill Sign of Power Inspiration no longer applies a damaging effect while in the Red Dawn stance. You would think that in the Red Dawn stance you would want it to do damage, right?
I would think so, but I don't usually fight from Warsteed.
Yeah, you got a point there, yeah, because my Lore Masters, I'm usually on the ground, even in Rohan. I only mount up under the...
Under duress?
Yeah, under duress. That is the perfect word for this situation.
I mean, I have fought in Rohan on a Lore Master, but it's been a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
On a
I know.
So I don't remember what the skills were or what they did.
Yeah, I once did a video on the Lore Master mounted combat. And it was strange. First of all, it was obsolete because back when I did the video, there was no such thing as a Lore Master pet while mounted. You didn't have a pet. They added the wolf later.
Right.
So there was that little thing. So it was before the wolf pet came around, and the Yeah, I'm sure a couple other things also started on the matter. But I think since that time, I also decided, okay, even though this was a reasonable class in which to do mounted combat, I still prefer to be on the ground. I even prefer to have my Mariner on the ground when doing mounted combat, and Mariner does not have very good skills for fighting against mounted foes.
Fair.
And my best thing I do is throw a fire pot at them and hope that they burn to death. For the minstrel, Call to Greatness no longer resets allies' capstone skills cooldowns. That is,
It's now a call to mediocreness.
it's a call to mediocreness. Yes,
And
and
people are pissed, but it's
yeah,
become very, very much a joke now.
yes. Now, in compensation, they've knocked off 120 seconds off of the cooldown for the skill.
Yeah, but the skill's useless now.
Yes. Well, I think someone said it has uses when in solo.
Okay, it might be useful for soloing, but like that's literally not calling anyone to greatness.
Calling the lore master to greatness.
Is it more like the lore master's just saying, "I'm so much better than you"?
Maybe. All right, let's
Well,
see.
I mean, it looks like it really only affects the minstrel.
Oh,
Maybe it's like,
yeah.
remember once you were great? I don't know.
Bravely bold Sir Robin.
Oh well. Call to Greatness now causes all of your ballads and to be AoE skills that now grant 3 of their respective ballad buffs, as well as 1 of 2 effects depending on your specialization. If you're a Watcher of Resolve, immediately restores 50% of maximum morale and 25% of maximum morale, and times 0.5 incoming damage and minus 15 seconds anthem cooldowns for 15 seconds. For the Warrior Scald, minus 30% chance for Codas to cash out ballad buffs, plus 25% outgoing damage, and 15 seconds anthem cooldowns for 15 seconds. Bolster Courage healing is now increased by 15%. Bolster Courage power cost increased slightly. And Raise the Spirit healing has been increased by 30%.
Wait,
For the
so like,
Runekeeper,
if you're in Watcher of Resolve, you're in blue line, so you're clearly not soloing. So does it restore 50% of your maximum morale, 50% of the mob you're fighting's maximum morale, 50% of an ally's whose max morale is restored? That's what I would like to know.
okay. Let's see. Watcher Resolve immediately restore 50% of max morale. I will.
Because
You
it
know?
says it now is an AoE, a ballad is AoE skill, but the call to greatness, does that affect your whole fellowship? Just you? I'm confused by this.
Immediately restores 50% of maximum morale, 25% of max. Let's put. Okay. Plus 25% max morale.
Which sounds
Times,
like 75% max morale, but that seems absurd.
yeah, let's see. And plus 5 incoming damage. Right.
Like, is that just to the minstrel? Like, oh crap, remember there was a time when I was great? Or is that like, hey guys, let's all be great for a few minutes because we're all taking half damage? I don't know. I'm confused.
Oh, well.
The Warrior
Yeah,
Skull
but.
it clearly only affects you because you have glowy hands and can only affect yourself.
Right. And anyway, there's minus 30% chance for Codas to cash out Ballad Buffs at sea, plus 35 outgoing damage and Anthem cooldown. Yeah, so your Warrior Scar is obviously affects only the Minstrel. Yes.
I mean, like, you could, I guess, potentially not have glowy hands still, but if you're doing DPS, you probably have glowy hands. Anyway, sorry. Nitpicking.
All right. As for the Runekeeper, Writ of Health healing has been reduced by 5%.
Boo. It's
Oh
just
well,
Murder Keeper.
yeah. I have a feeling it's because too many minstrels have been complaining about the runekeepers taking over the healing jobs.
Well, I mean,
But Rid of Health, actually,
no,
producing Rid of
there's
Health could not be solely responsible for that issue.
no.
Oh well. For combat and monsters, a handful of player effects which deal bonus damage according to your player level now correctly deal greater damage for players levels 151 to 160. As for quests, Lachar will now tell you where to go next if she's defeated by the goblins during the instance the Skin Changer's Heritage. How she tells you that, I have absolutely no idea.
As she dies, take my story to whoever.
Yes.
Go back
Uh,
to my house and tell them I died to goblins.
The fall of the Myrdyne lead in quest for Doom of Kara Skelebrin skirmish now requires the server to be at or above player level 60 when the skirmish is also available.
Okay.
Alright. Okay, so the skirmish doesn't become available of course it won't be available till you're at level 160 because that'll be Moria when they unlock skirmishes. Alright.
Yeah.
Fix an issue where you could not reaccept our end of the deal if you abandon it because Mizadi is missing from the bridge fort of Imakstul. You can now also accept a quest from Kotraka Saya inside of the palace royal living quarters if you abandoned it while inside the palace. Rotating and static regional quests introduced in the Kingdoms of Parad expansion pack are now bestowed from 4 settlements throughout the expansion regions. New regional quest boards in Sulmadash, Sajana, Jirit Menesh, and the Dawn Warden settlements will display the bestowal for these daily and weekly quests. Change the names of some NPCs involved in the Song of Waves and Wind Chapter 13 so they match the quests. Okay. Quest dialogue in The Fate of the Motorwood has been revised to account for some previous adventures. Fixed the interaction on the quest Daily Crystals to send below to allow for quest completion. All daily and weekly quests that are part of Murjala endgame are now appropriately displaying their minimum level of 160. A typo in the Ansharu quest mounting a rescue has been corrected. Kagami's position in Garin has been shifted slightly so that she appears to be floating less. Oh, but she still appears to be floating?
I wonder what the god. Listen, I'm sorry, but we really got to talk about your floating. You do too much. It's out of control. We need you to reduce your floating.
Okay. Is this Kagami or is this Fenchurch? Anyway, the named ents in the Mordor Allegiance quest, Chapter 3, High and Low, now properly all have distinct appearances. A text change has been made to Rodrog's dialogue in Ansharu quest, Taking a Rest. Players who had the quest in progress will need to pick the quest up again in Kagami at the crossroads of Inansharu due to versioning. The Mumok Trainer's Horn used in the Ansharu quest, Befriending a Behemoth, can now be used in combat to better facilitate quest completion in a fellowship. During the quest's scholarly pursuits, the NPC Karbar and the collectible berry bushes should now be properly selectable via the player mouse. A typo has been corrected in Non-Shrew Quest, a letter to Mishagek. Typos have been corrected in Anjuru instance, a gift for the future. The Anjuru quest instance into the Quelling House can now be run in a fellowship, and also in taking a rest and a personal matter will always take place at night. Removed an icon suggesting that a daily quest was available at the fields of Sarhaze. Okay, for tasks, deeds, and reputation. The task quest, Murjala Hamati task, Sun-Baked Axes, and Murjala Hamati task, Sun Scorpion Sword Sheets, and their turn-in items were reversed. This has been fixed. Note, these task quests have been versioned upon release. I know, I was really confused on why I was having trouble finishing these quests. And what happened is, whenever I took the quest, it was saying one name, and then so I was monitoring that particular item, and so I was seeing it work, where suddenly it stopped completing the quest. I couldn't understand why it stopped completing the quest, and of course, it was because it took away the item and took away so many of the items that I had no longer had any of the item that I was actually using for the quest. So, yes, I was really confused when I was doing tasks in the area because of that. We have added 4 new deeds to track completion of the in-game daily and weekly quests available in the 4 regions of Murjala. Oh, just what we needed, more deeds. We have extended the reputation tier for Temanir of Jerit Minesh to Kindred. Okay. And we also increased the achievable reputation with the Zijana to Kindred. The deed Treasure Seekers of Murjala now correctly is listed under Murjala, and this deed will be versioned upon release of 46.1. All right. In the Hamadi task quest, Murjala Hamadi task, Sun-Baked Axes and Murjala Hamadi task, Sun-Baked Scorcher Seeds had their turn in. It's annoying when they put the same one in there twice.
Yep.
All right. All quartermasters involved in the quest for reputation now have their corresponding barter profiles for their factions. We removed the sparkles that made the reputation objects found throughout Murjala appear to be lootable regardless of reputation ranks or keys. Thank you. That was really annoying seeing those things going all over the place. And many bounty quests in Murjala now reward you with reputation upon completion. All right. Anyone have any comments on these?
Well, I just when you're talking about not being able to complete that one quest or quest line, it brought me back to when that SOS emote first came out, and somebody standing right next to Gandalf where everybody was flocking around, and put that SOS emote up, which put the ring over their head, and they had 100 people around them, obviously desperately trying to click on them and not understanding why they weren't getting any quest pawns. So.
There are just some. There are just some emotes you're wondering why were they thinking? Were they thinking when they implemented this?
Maybe somebody was disgruntled at work or something.
I don't know. Okay. Missions and delvings. Adjusted the bestowed text for the mission routing reinforcements to be more relevant to the activity inside the mission. I really should do that again so I could see what it says now. Addressed an issue where the granted skill used in the mission disrupting control would advance the quest when used on orcs, which I understand why that is completely inappropriate. And added an exit door to the mission Armed Saboteur and mission routing reinforcements. As for instances and skirmishes, the Acid Wing of the Tower of Orthanc raid is once again accessible to players. And the voiceover has been added to Dunshuma, the King's Fortress. Wathranos, the Witch King's Citadel, Shard of Tarstar's Rain of Splinters damage has been reduced. Enemies in the Road to Erebor raids, Battle for Erebor, Flight from the Lonely Mountain, and Fires of Smog now have increased morale and reduced damage. And in Sarasuma, Drugot's Stolen Minstrel Song now restores less morale. As for items and rewards, fixed typos of spider appearances, manacled spider appearance as two-faced spinner appearance. Umbari Luckstone potions now require your character to be between levels 141 to 150 on use. Legendary items, all legacies still remaining in pre-imbuement legendary items have had their effects reduced in potency. All base morale multiplier traceries now correctly display their names and potencies as intended and no longer erroneously suggest that they grant plus 5.5 max morale at lower rarities. And the Tier 16 Brawler tracery finishing attack damage no longer erroneously refers to a non-existent skill. Murai Edeline tokens now correctly give level 160 appropriate resistance buffs. And level 160 consumable class items, which execute skills such as burglar marbles, throwing knives, lore master pet food, etc., now correctly execute as level 160 skills. For crafts and hobbies, fixed an issue where some Sulmadash Tailor recipes were incorrectly set to be a single use. All Sulmadash jeweler equipment recipes now correctly require polished garnets. Scholar recorded lore of the Murjala processing now correctly outputs only one item for non-criticals. The woodworker recipe to craft Kintai harvesting tools now requires fewer ingredients and outputs more tools. Supplier NPCs, including those placed in player housing, now sell tier 15 Shigani seeds. Items with socketed essences can no longer be used as crafting ingredients. The essences must be removed before the item can be used as ingredients. Fishing should now work in several areas it previously was not, particularly in Rohan and Gondor. All right. And Umbari woodworking tier 15 recipes for instruments and basic weapons now have a base 5% chance to critically succeed. All right. Any comments on any of that?
I think I'm good.
All right. Now for housing and decorations, all purple decorative Kintai curtain walls are now actually purple.
Hey, nice.
You know what color they were before?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Not
but
Shire Plum.
I'm amused.
Gold capped Zajani Tower, marble Zajani Tower, Zajani Scholars Tower, and Zajani's Watchtower are each now visible at much greater distances when placed on yard hooks. Zajani Candle Stand can now be toggled on and off when placed on a housing hook. Various torch sconce brazier housing decorations introduced in Update 46 now have their flames on by default. Cozy roasting fire pit will now have you sit on a stool as intended. Lamp of the Northern Herald will now properly glow. And fix the bug where the Bophalas boat post housing decoration would only allow players to select the item via its floating name. Players should now be able to properly select the item from anywhere on the object. Thank you very much.
I like that change. Yes, that was incredibly frustrating.
Yes. For PvP and the Entmores, items, potions acquired at outposts now grant effects lasting for 90 minutes. Morale and power potions purchased with Marta at Outpost in the Etmores now properly increase power and morale by 5%. And players' mitigations potions acquired for Marta at Outpost now watch the mitigation bonus for monster players. Etmore scrolls of battle and warding now give you level 160 appropriate mitigation buffs. Etmore's roots positions now correctly cleanse slows when used. Level 160 PvP essences now correctly display as tier 16. And the Hillman Chieftain's sword appearance trait now has the correct prerequisites. We fixed an issue where players were seeing the title deeds for monster player reward track season. Or if you were seeing the title deed. Okay. Building and reinforcing the gates of Tirithral and Lugazag will now persist until they are destroyed or the location is taken. This ensures that the materials and efforts put into the building and reinforcing are not wasted. Etmore's tracery chests now contain a tracery appropriate for level 160 characters. All monster players' breakout skills now correctly remove fear CC effects. War Leader Commander stance now states the correct cooldown reduction for quitters never win when using Crack the Whip or Quit Whining and Fight. And we have added informative text to the skills Slink Away, Retaliate, and Swallow Light to reflect that they are not unlocked by being slowed. Landscape and adventure areas. Something stirs in the Moulderwood. Monsters have been spotted with greater corruption from the pale blight, especially near the folly of Nagaheri. Beware enemies with troubling afflictions and dangerous blight roads while traveling in Adagim. All right. All travel routes from locations in Adagim, as well as Vartulin and Shonith, can now use an oryx mount instead of a horse mount. Travelers and adventurers quartermaster NPCs can now be found in Sulmadesh. Miscellaneous travel routes issues in Ansharu and Nidagao have been resolved. Miscellaneous object placements issues in Ansharu and Nadagim have been fixed, and miscellaneous terrain texture issues in Ansharu have been fixed. A stick spot in Ansharu has been fixed. Various chairs and benches throughout Gondor and Rohan have been updated to now accept the /sit emote. Addressed miscellaneous floating items and NPCs in the exterior area of Kothral and Ansharu. Resource nodes placements issues in Adagim have been fixed. Jarush now only has one map node. Miscellaneous terrain features issues in Swampfleet have been fixed. Lowered the floating NPC to the ground in Kanagur. Minor rock issues in Ansharu and Nidagao have been resolved. Temenir Commoner and guard NPCs are now actually dwarves. Okay, useful. Floating milestone outside of Mickle Delving Homesteads has been grounded. The milestone was floating?
Poor Milestone. When will it be able to leave the house again?
The
Apparently it was
Hamati.
floating.
Okay. The Hamati forward camp in Idigal no longer has a giant skull just chilling out in it.
What? That's ridiculous. They need to bring the giant skull back immediately.
Well, anyway, miscellaneous minor landscape issues in Adagim have been resolved. Suffocating spores now deal less damage. Some physics issues in Ungbar Malk have been resolved. The normal travel route from central Connacht in Ansharu to the Dawn's Warden now completes as expected. Treasure cache in southern Kigan is now accessible. Floating resource nodes in Adagim have been grounded, and Fairview landscape in the northeast of Idigao have been touched up.
Man, those resource nodes, they should have been doing a better job following instructions, apparently.
Oh well.
Now they can't go to the dance either.
The resource nodes have been grounded.
Yeah, you can't go to the dance. Anyway, for localization, for German, corrected the truncated page titles inside the filter menu. The text in the Cat Conundrum Midsummer Quest have now displays properly in German. Text for the Lunch for the Lookouts in Mouseword now displays properly in German. The translation for the Sophisticated Murders Pack items has been updated. Defeated enemies in Broadacres during the testing of their strength text now displays the proper location, and several instances of extraneous question marks have been removed throughout the German text. As for sound, art, and avatars, Mounted Theorbo playing has been corrected. Mounted Loop and Theorbo playing has been corrected. Doesn't that make the first one redundant?
Yes,
Fixed
or you can now play both at the same time, which would be incredible but unlikely.
Fixed a bug where certain 1- and 2-handed hammers were not properly displaying cosmetic weapon auras. Head option 26 for female race of men avatars no longer distorts when eye option sliders are changed. The chest plate of the Dead City neck region has been slightly reworked and should now correctly display the chainmail neck piece for the race of men, river hobbits, elves, and high elves. Rank sword now properly displays cosmetic weapon auras. Birding animations have been updated to work correctly with all avatar types. River Hobbit male / trumpet emote now animates properly. Steed of yeah, I have a feeling that my River Hobbit who recently gained that is female, so therefore I guess didn't have any problem with it. Okay. Steed of the White City War Steed comparison appearances should now properly accept die. The rakish charmers, shoulder guards for a race of man females should now sit more proportionally on their body. Isengard Ring of Fire item usage emote now correctly plays animations for race of man Bjornings and river hobbits. And Bjornings in bear form now use the walk instead of run animations when walking. As for UI and miscellaneous, UI scaling updates are underway. This is a large effort and will happen in stages over the course of many releases. Plug-in support for these changes will be following. Updated the kinship calendar flow to allow the event organizer to see event RSVP lists. The player will now receive an alert when they have unclaimed legendary item reward track rewards if they log in before the season ends. Now, I noticed that I got such a pop-up message because I had one unclaimed item that was in the time period where I'm doing the post 100 of them in there. So you're saying that every time I log in and I happen to have a post 100 in there, I'm going to get this message in there?
Yep. And if you've got ones that you just don't have inventory space for, you'll just keep getting it too.
Yeah, just keep on getting that reminder. Right.
But I guess it's nice of them to tell us.
Yep. But a month before the end of the season is, well.
I mean, maybe they could start that in like the last week and a half before the end of the season.
Yeah,
But,
we'll have to see about that. Oh, well.
Or let it be something that we can change the frequency of.
Right. And next thing we have fixed a bug in the kinship calendar where Earth. Oh, that seems to be redundant compared to the previous one. Okay, custom character portraits list is now constrained to the screen size and has a scroll bar when necessary. Okay, some people are getting really, really long lists of custom character portraits. I know I'm getting pretty close to probably being in that position myself. Fix a bug that would cause the Instance Finder class menu to only show a subset of the classes in the game. That would be a problem. Fix a bug that would cause the social class menu to only show a subset of the classes in the game. Missions that support delvings now show a delving icon with a tooltip that reads, "This mission supports delvings" in their mission giver's quest panel. I guess that's for the benefit of those who like running delving so they can skip by the ones that don't support them. Ground target area of effect skills will prioritize the player's current target when possible. Fixed an examination bug that would result in mariners being called corsairs. Typo in the description of floor lanterns of Zajana bundle description has been fixed, and fixed an examination bug that was preventing the max contents level of package items from being shown when they were stored in a player's vault. And now, as for known issues relating to UI scaling, only the main mouse cursor upscales with a new higher resolution image. All other cursors resize using the 32 by 32 base image. Okay. And rescaling the character panel while it is not visible can cause the contents to expand outside the panel's bounds. Updating the character UI scale option while the panel is visible will fix this issue. Resizing the trait tree window will cause the dependency arrow to shift. Interacting with the panel will fix the arrows. Okay, and this initial release of UI scaling does not currently support Lua plugins. Lua plugin elements will not scale with the UI features at this time, but most Lua plugins should function as they did previously. And that is it for the release. Oh, wait, that took an hour?
Yep, the release notes of Doom.
The release notes of, oh, believe me, you don't want me to read the Doom release notes. I'm sure that.
Okay, fair.
All right. Well,
So our nightmare of release notes is now over, and we can look forward to the next part not being anything related to release notes whatsoever.
Right?
Ah, finally.
not
Right, Pipe?
quite.
Oh.
Because we had there was a bull roar, and actually I am not going to read all these reasons. The reason why is that if didn't I say before, way at the beginning, that let's see what we had here in here when
Yeah,
we
I
were
think this
talking
can
about
wait.
instances that they were saying about when they are expecting for us to have the release of Tier 3.
It looks like they're working on Tier 3 with this.
Yeah, so therefore, if Tier 3 is coming out in, I think they're even saying as early as next week. I thought they were saying, I think they're saying the February 12th. And if that's the case, then I'll be reading them again next week. So therefore, I'm not going to read all the way through them. But anyway, they are just making tweaks upon the area in there because instances available at Tier 3 is sort of the big thing in here. There are going to be a couple other tweaks that they're also going to be making, but we'll read them next week when they actually have the actual release.
Thank you.
So you can
Thank
be
you.
happy, Krister, that yes, But I am leaving them in the show notes just in case you do want to read them. Now, Scenario had his latest casual stroll where he was going through the rivers of Middle Earth and he was going through part 1 of the Anduin. He was hoping to do everything from the source way up north all the way down to Lothlorien, but I believe he only got down to around the Vales of Anduin, I think, is where he had to end. So it looks like it's going to take him some time more to get down the river. Then one part of the reason of this, of course, is that he's going down there. If there are 3 tributaries feeding the Anduin, he's going to also check the tributaries. So he's checking all of that also in addition. So he's showing everything that is part of the Anduin River Basin in there. So you could take the link on here. We have a link to the YouTube video so that you could watch that if you wish. And also note that next week on February 12th, 2026, there will be an episode of We Have a Cave Troll. And this time it's called The Benefits of Bull Roar. And that's it for the news in LOTRO. So let's go and see what's on sale this week. Cinders, what's on sale?
On sale this week, we have a really funny weekly coupon, but I'll get to that in a minute. You can create your own sale and determine your discount is here. I want to go into this with the acknowledgement that we do understand we are in the second month of the new year. We don't make the codes. Take it up with them. So you can use New Year 15, no spaces, for 15% off one item up to 5 per account. You can use New Year 20 for 20% off one item up to 3 per account. You can use New Year 30, no spaces, for 30% off one item once per account. Discounts are applied to the redeeming character. Use the coupon before logging off or switching characters, now through February 12th. You can also prepare for battle and get 30% off stat tomes and bundles, food and drink, combat buffs, and movement buffs, also through February 12th. And everybody's favorite, you can get simple rally horns with coupon code TOOT, no spaces, also through February 12th.
I knew when I saw that, I knew it was gonna be when I saw toot toot. I knew you were just gonna be able to say toot toot.
I don't think I even did when I saw it the first time. It was like, I was like, what's so funny? And I was like, the coupon code is toot.
Yes. Now, it seems to be either 5 weeks, about 5 weeks late in this coupon code or 1 week early because, I mean, we have Chinese New Year, but that's after this coupon
this
code
is
expires.
technically a new year. You know what I mean? It's the newest year we've got.
That is true.
All right.
Before we go in, Piley.
Yeah.
Before we go into our weekend gaming, can I quickly interject something here in the category where we usually put questions?
All right.
It's not a question, it's more just a comment for our listeners. When we have questions in here and we ask each other and then we answer them, you are welcome and encouraged to respond to those with your own information and insights, and we would love to read them out the following week. So, if you haven't already, when we ask a question like, what's your best pet name? Definitely tell us because we want to know. We heard yesterday that some people thought we had really lame ones and they had way better ones. And I was like, so tell us, we'll read them out. So we want you to know you are encouraged to interact with it, tell us. We would love to share what you guys do as well. All right, that's my little spiel.
Very
Carry on.
well. Yes. Then let's into our week in gaming. And Krister, what were you up to, and why does it look so menacing?
I decided to force project into Lord of the Rings, and I harassed Ploy last night as they were trying out to the new instances. And I got to witness I don't know how I can qualify it yet, but a group of Daxamats, and trying to figure out what you would call a group of Daxamats. So I'm thinking maybe a Matterhorn of Daxamats.
I would think a crew of Daxamats.
Proved okay. Well, I was trying to avoid any Mariner terms because I don't like them. So, no, so it was kind of fun. They live streamed. I watched them work through the adventure, so that was pretty fun. And then in ESO, I got to do my favorite thing, which is coming into a group of people that are like, "Oh no, we're suffering. We need help. Who will help us? Oh, this disgusting orc will help you. Thank you very much." But now I'm confronted with a concept that is Pine Leaf in a PvP area. So is it really PvP or is it PvPie? Huh? Huh? Or I guess it would PV Pine, but I guess Pie would work too. Never mind. It sounded better in my head. But we've been grouping in ESO, and it's actually been quite fun doing the trials together, doing the dungeons together, because a lot of the dungeon multiplayer stuff I hadn't done, and so I'm going through some content that I've never gone through before myself. And then we played some Helldivers and Cinders. And her son, we got together on blasted worlds dominated by bots. And the terrifying thing for me in this whole universe of Helldivers, because it's just a grim, brutal existence. We fight all the time. But if I start to see Shire Plum mechs, robots, I'm drop ships, weapons. I'm getting really nervous. So I feel like Cinder's influence could be manifest in this new world and destroy it and make it really nice looking and all pink and purple and stuff, when we really want burning things and fire. So
I mean, pink can be considered very flame color in the
That's
right
true.
context.
Now, so I've also been entering a couple times a year. I enter my creative tsunami, and so my creative tsunami has started up again. So I decided randomly to build some Helldivers mechs in Photoshop from scratch, and so I put them in our game notes for other people to look at. I thought they turned out pretty cool, but I'm incredibly biased to my own work. So that was my week in gaming. Cinders, what did you get up to?
Well, I will second what you said about your pictures, because I think I had already commented on them that they did look really awesome. The only improvement I would make would be to color them Shire Plum. But that would just be me. So, it's okay. I gave you an eye roll earlier for your comment. So I did play Helldivers 2 with my kid and Krister. And we had fun, and they did not let me drive the tank though. I'm pretty sure. Well, so Krister started it with, "Hey, are you guys too sick to hop in a tank and go blow things up?" And the answer was no, with a big smile from my kid. And I was like, at this point, I'm home just watching him. Like, I'm not sick anymore. So I was like, sure, sounds fun. And my kid almost immediately was like, "We're going to need somebody to drive the tank." I was like, "Oh, I could." He goes, "Not you." I was like, okay. And then I was like, "You do know that if I asked nicely, Krister would let me drive the tank, right?" And he was like, "Yes."
Okay. Now, here's my question, though, is because I presume that somebody is firing the weapons, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So the
it's a
tank
multi-position.
yeah. So in the tank, you have the one person who's driving,
Right.
Then you have one person who's operating the big cannon thing on the top that can't swivel all the way around. It just kind of goes back and forth across the front. And then you have little hatches that the other characters can pop out of. And if you hit the wrong button, though, you pop all the way out and get left behind. But you can pop out and then use whatever's in your hands to spray the enemy. So
Okay,
we did it. Go ahead.
So the main gun doesn't have a full turret on it?
No,
It's
not on
it's
this
one of those
one.
ones where it has a very limited traverse, and so it's
Okay.
like that's why they talked about the whole point of the tank is that you're going to be working as a team because the driver basically has to line up the shots for the gunner.
Okay.
Yes. So the first time we got in the tank, Krister drove, and my kid was the gunner, and I figured out that if I hit the wrong button, I get left behind. So I made sure I didn't keep hitting that button, so I would not get left behind. But I would pop up and shoot with my little machine gun.
Okay.
So we did that, but last week I used the fast recon vehicle, and I laughed so hard I cried. My kid was absolutely appalled with my driving, which is why I was forbidden from driving the tank by my child. I was like, that's okay. I can ride shotgun, as it were. So we did that. It was fun. We had only, I think, one friendly fire death that I was responsible for. And that was not technically my fault. My kid walked into the line of fire and then was like, hey, I was like, you walked in front of me. I'm so sorry. Anyhow, so it was a good time. And then my greatest accomplishment, I got Pine Leaf into the PvP area in ESO. And if you know Pine Leaf, you know that Pine Leaf doesn't PvP. It was an adventure, but Pine Leaf really wanted to get all of the dolmens. And I said, hey, if I get up early for me, normal time, like a reasonable time for him, because he's a few hours ahead. So I was like, if I get up early, like I'm going to work, we can probably get on before everybody else, because unless they're in Europe, they're still in bed, right? Or they're headed to work because it was Friday morning. He's like, okay. So 4:45 in the morning, I'm online, Pine Leaf's online. Like, okay, so we go into the PvP area, and it is almost completely Ebonheart Pact and Aldemiri Dominion. We had like our two main keeps and one other one. Like, there was nowhere. I was like, it'll be fine. So long as we don't trip anything to show that there's fighting, like, we should be able to just kind of run around wherever we want, because everybody else can basically just teleport all around, and they're not going to ride if they can use the Transitus shrines. He was like, okay. So we set off, and over the course of the next little bit, we found a whole bunch of Mundus stones. We found a bunch of
Soul shards?
delves
Or de-
and
yeah,
sky shards.
Yeah, sky shards.
And we had started with like a map, and so we were going to try and get the northernmost dolmen. But what we didn't realize about this dolmen marking is that it's not actually a dolmen. So we cruised up to it first thing, and I'm like, yeah, we found the first one. This is great. And then I started like trying to find the way onto the thing to deal with the dolmen, right? And so I'm going around this dark anchor trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm just pulling this ring of mobs. And then pretty soon I see this red shield, and I go, oh no, there's a player character. And my leaf goes, I know. They just killed me. And then I died. So that was our first player character kill. And we're like, okay, so that one is not a dolmen. Let's try the next one. So we found the next one, and the thing wasn't there. So we're like, okay, let's just see if we can find all the dolmens, so then we can at least see which one is active. So, we keep going along, looking for sky shards, just sticking our noses and discovering places, things like that, right? No other characters, see nothing. Everything's going great. I'm like, look, there's this sky shard. We should go get the sky shard. And I got the sky shard and finally fell into the water with the slaughterfish. So I was like, well, that's an easy way back. So I'll just because we had no other keeps and no other place to respawn, so we had to respawn clear back at the beginning. Because by that point, we'd lost the third keep and we just had the 2 home bases, right? Like, okay, we'll just respawn back there. So I jumped in and got killed by Slaughterfish. So then we get back on our horses and we're still like tooling around trying to find all these locations, right? Still not seeing anybody. Nothing's going on. We're like, okay, whatever. Like, this is great. Do a couple delves, get a couple more sky shards, find a few more Mundus stones. We're back in the area where the sky shard was and the infamous Slaughterfish incident. So I was like, Pyleaf, let's take another stab at it. Surely we'll get it this time. I had no problems. Pyleaf fell in with the Slaughterfish. So I jumped in with the Slaughterfish and we ended up back at the beginning because now Ebonheart controlled almost the entire map. Aldemiri had just a little small bit. They had more than the Dominion, but not much. Or the Covenant. So then we're hanging out. We're like, okay, maybe it's time for like a lunch break. And by this time, we found a couple of active dolmens, but the one that was active had gotten kicked up to Ebonheart controlled location. And we're like, we probably can't get to it. Whatever, we'll just wait. So then we get back on after we took a break, like 30-minute break. We get back on. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going to keep going. We decide that we're going to go find that location. So we at least know where it's at, even though it's controlled by Ebonheart Pact. And so I'm like, okay, so long as we are just, again, we don't flip the flags, it'll be fine. So we get up there. We discover the location, and I was like, well, there's nobody around. Like, we haven't seen anybody. We haven't really seen any fighting. Like, the keeps aren't lighting up. Stuff's not flipping. Maybe nobody's on. Let's see what it would take to flip this. Of course, it wasn't the active dolmen, but we flipped all 3 flags. And we were like, okay, this is going pretty well. Now we can go, like, now that we've found all the dolmen, we can just move the dolmen around, the anchors around, so that then when it gets back here, we'll just come up here, we'll take it out, it'll be fine, right? So we're going around and we're doing this, and we had picked up a couple of scouting missions. So we did those as we went by them, and then I saw that one keep was like the Daggerfall Covenant was defending it. I was like, we should defend our one keep. We should help out. So Pineleaf willingly went along with this. And so we go in, and I happen to have the ballista on me. So I put the ballista down, and I'm shooting off the top of the wall at the Ebonheart folks that are trying to take over the keep. And Pineleaf is down running around trying to kill him. And he dies. And I'm like, oh no, I think you died. I still see the one character. And Pineleaf's like, yeah, I died. I was like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on. I'll see if I can figure out. Oh no, they're running this way. And then I turned around and there were 2 of them. And then I was dead. And so Pineleaf was like, let's not do that again. I was like, okay, we won't do that again. So we kept going. And then we got up to Bruma where the thing was, because we'd finally moved it around. And we were almost to Bruma. We were getting ready to go up to Bruma, and I was like, we're going by the Sky Shard, and we're gonna get it for you this time, Pineleaf. And he did. And I ended up with the Slaughterfish. So then he jumped in with the Slaughterfish. So we had 3 Slaughterfish deaths at this point. And I was like, okay, but we got it. We don't have to go back there ever again. So then we rode back out from our still 2 little controlled camps. We rode back out. We went to Bruma. And then we got killed by a player character who happened to be there as we were trying to get it started. And we had just gotten it started, but they hadn't shown up to bring the anchor, like to do their sacrifices and stuff or whatever they do, incantations. And yeah, so we got a blood port back to the starter area again. And so then we rode out. We're like, let's sneak this time. Think if we're sneaking around, maybe our little blue shields won't be popping over our head to give us away. So we get there, and Pineleaf was very, very stressed at this point. And I could tell, I was like, it's okay. Like, we're just going to focus on this. And then, of course, we were getting sniped by the NPCs that could see us because they were all, of course, from the Ebonheart Pact. Take the anchor down. It was the last dolmen. It was the 10th one. Get the achievement. I was like, you know what, Pineleaf? We should really show them let's flip this one flag. We'll take out all the NPCs that were shooting us. We'll flip the flag. And worst case scenario, they come back and we get a really fast port back to the starter area again. And we can just speed up. And Pilot was like, okay. So we're there. We flipped the flag. We didn't flip all three this time. We just flipped the one. And then I was like, sweet. Pulled out my duo rider elk. Was like, let's book it. So then we booked it back to the keep that had been retaken now by us. And so then we were able to transit us back. And then Pilot was like, and I'm done. I didn't break. It's like 1:20 in the afternoon at this point. It's like, great. So we went different directions, and I wasn't planning to join the field trip. But I decided to pop on because Xerox was on all by himself. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. It's like 2 minutes before 3 my time. Pilot's still not on. Normally there's a couple of them. I'll just pop in and talk to him. So I popped in, talking to him, right? Well, everybody else joins. I was like, okay, I'll just play. So I get into LOTRO. And so this is like the third part of the LOTRO categories here. So I'm going to back up briefly. I will come back to this LOTRO story. Monday night, LOTRO died gloriously to Oathbreakers and Avank. It is possible to kill a captain unintentionally, and everybody else in your group, if you forget that you are not the tank and you take your brawler and say, I know where I'm going, follow me, and you hop on a horse and you go riding right through a whole bunch of Oathbreakers and Avank, and you hop off right at the edge of the water, and your captain is coming in behind you, trying to heal you, can't keep up with it, and then the whole group wipes, with the exception of the one burglar who just stayed hidden the whole time. And then, like, started running around killing stuff. And so we did eventually all get rezzed and taken care of. But sorry, guys. That was my bad.
So you're saying your brawler was not in tanking stance?
My brawler doesn't have a tanking stance at the moment. My brawler just runs around and punches things and hopes that the captain is close enough to heal her, because she doesn't know where her healing skills are yet. So Finn usually is pretty good at keeping up with me, and making sure that I do stay alive. And if he's not right there, Pilot on it, his character is usually right there. But yeah, you could definitely die if you pull all of them in the angle. My bad. Sorry, guys. Then Pilot and I finished the Song of Waves and Wind and worked some more on Mazzati's story. Very uneventful, very much in line with how playing with Pilot typically goes. So it went very smoothly. It was very orderly. We didn't go off any cliffs or anything, and we stayed very much on track with very little squirreling. Then, switching back to Friday now. Friday, I get to the field trip, and we are in, what is that area?
Thungohad.
In Thungohad, thank you. And we're just to the point of starting the skirmishes. And there's 5 of us. So it's borderline responsible. And Pineleaf was just only slightly like, yeah, it's fine, right? Like, he's gone along with it. So we start up the instance, right? And I'm like, I'd like to use the ballista. They're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So on my low burglar, I go running up to the top, to the central one, and I'm like, how do I use these things? And so I start like, and I asked, and they were busy talking about something else and didn't answer me immediately. So I just started clicking buttons. It turns out right click was the right one. So I right clicked on it, hoping that it would tell me what to do, and I fired it. And from that point on, the ballista were just out of sync. And so I fired the ballista. I was like, oh, that's how you do it. And I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? And Pilot goes, fire the ballista. And I was like, okay, cool. So I start running up and down the wall, hitting the ballista every time they're reloaded, and I go by them, right? They're lit. I'm just hitting them. Then I realize I'm getting these pop-ups, and they're getting them too, of course, right? The pop-up says, "Oh, the East Ballista has been
Reloaded.
reloaded. The Central Ballista has been reloaded, etc." Right? And then I realize there's also this red pop-up that keeps coming up, which is the enemy approaches from the east. Prepare to fire the East Ballista. And without fail, I had just fired whatever ballista it asked for. And so they're down there running around, right? The guys are down there running. Captain, I think. No, we don't have a captain. Do we have a captain? Yeah, I think we had a captain. We had yes, because Sam was a captain. So we had a captain, we had a runekeeper, we had a minstrel, and one other character. I don't remember offhand. And they're just running around trying to kill stuff, right? And I'm like, how is this working? You know, and Heinrich made the comment that it would really help if somebody would quit firing willy-nilly. And I was like, sorry, I'm trying. So then I stopped trying to figure out what was going on. I think it was because we had an encounter that popped up. And because I'd been firing willy-nilly, the encounter didn't die where he was supposed to. And Piley's lost track of him. He's like, where is he? I'm like, oh, he's up here with me. Because I had seen that he was coming up. And I couldn't shoot him with the ballista. So I just hopped down with my awesome burglar skills and just started stabbing him with daggers, right? And the guys are just laughing because Pyleaf is frustrated with the willy-nilly ballista, but they think it's hysterical. Yeah, so then I started I waited to see if I could get the timing back on, right? I'm like, okay, I've got this. I can see where the target is. I've adjusted my camera. I'm like, okay, I've got this. I'm on the West Ballista. It says they're coming from the west. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I'm waiting. And I see them all run into the circle. And I hit the button. And they all run out of the circle. And it lands. And I was like, okay, you know what? Forget this. And Pilot was like, well, usually the job of the people down below is to keep them all in the one little circle. And I was like, which clearly we're not doing. So it was very chaotic. And so I just went back to running up and down and shooting things off willy-nilly because it was way more fun. And that was the response that I was getting from all of them, which was absolute laughter because it was chaos. Nobody died. It was fine. And then we proceeded to continue on with the different skirmishes. But that was my very eventful week in LOTRO. And sorry, Pine Leaf, if I gave you an early coronary or something. My bad. Sans, how was your week in gaming?
Well, I have a brand new baby Mumak pal, the Redstone Mumak calf named Rumbles, who's absolutely adorable. Yes, thanks to Grandis. And I ran around with it some while testing out the retraded hunter lines, and it just rumbles all the time, and it's amazing, and it's so cute. And yeah, it's so cute. I just wish I could ride it. It's the perfect size. I did some more Umpar cooking for Guild Rep too. And in ESO, I started working through Isabel's 1,000 Rapport and 2,000 Rapport companion quests. I finished the 1,000 Rapport one and in the 2,000 Rapport one. So that was pretty fun. How was your week in gaming, Piley?
And my week in gaming, I guess I'll begin with my warden, who continue along in the story of the Song of Waves and Wind storyline. But more importantly, long-term wise, is I started my process of reviewing my warden build. I've always had this hybrid build that wasn't quite a tanking build, but wasn't quite a DPS build or anything like this. So it was always the wrong build for whatever occasion I was in. So I finally broke down and decided, all right, I'm going to have a separate tanking build and realized, I mean, including separate LIs for the two builds, which is, I guess it must be a habit I picked up from ESO in there because I've been playing with builds all week and relating to that. So even though I don't have the benefit of a special armor or anything like this in there, I said, all right, fine. I'm going to see if I could get a real DPS build for my warden, and I started working on it. But of course, while I am able to get the skills down right for the DPS builds, all this stuff, I don't have an LI for it yet, so I'm still using the tanking LIs. But I am starting to build up my new one in there, going through the process of that. See, how long will it take me in order to get traceries into there without running completely out of script? Because that's the thing about it, of course. Adding a second LI is going to be very expensive on script, it sounds like. But I want to see as if I could get my warden to be a more optimal character than it was. So I've started that process on there as I continue along the Waves and Wind storyline. As for DDO, the main character I'm working with now has started adventuring in the Feywild, so I'm continuing along with that storyline. And then in ESO, I think it was on Thursday where I was looking through my achievements, and I did a dolmen in there, and I noticed, wait a minute, this looks like I'm pretty close to this achievement. I stumbled upon an achievement called Anchors Away. What did I have to do in order to finish this anchor? I had only 11 more dolmens in order to complete, in order to do this. Okay. One of them is in green shade, so we went to green shade and took care of that dolmen, and so now I only had 10 more. Where were those 10 more dolmens? Anyone who heard Cinder's story will probably figure out that they were all in Cyrodiil. I said, okay. And Cinder's thought it would be an idea if we wake up bright and early the next day and head out to Cyrodiil to find these 10 dolmens. And fortunately, I did find out at least then that those 10 dolmens do progress in order on there. And I think that we were greatly helped by the fact that Cinders and I, except with one exception throughout the day in there, Cinders and I were the only two people out there working on dolmens in Cyrodiil. I was absolutely no one else was working on dolmens in that area.
It did help us out a lot, yeah.
Oh, that helped us a great deal. So as a result of that, well, Cinders told the entire story on there, what all that happened in there. And yes, I did finish the day with the Anchors Away achievement. And that was I think that we spent 8 hours working on that. But we finally did, of course, because we had a lot of things to sidetrack us. Like we had the time when it was up in Bruma for a long time before someone kicked it out of the cycle in there. So that was before we figured out that we could actually, it was actually possible to get into Bruma. I just at the early time didn't think that it was likely to go in there. So we weren't getting sidetracked. So we went into several delves and we got sky shards, including a fun little thing that we were hearing about before. And I think we got quite a bit accomplished in there. And that's when I discovered how many different armor sets there are in Cyrodiil. How many are there? It's like, I did not get a good count. Is there like 20 armor sets in Cyrodiil?
Yeah, it's a
There are a
ridiculous
lot.
amount. And then, of course, if you go and look in that area where you can see that, you're just going to see there's a ridiculous amount of armor sets.
Yeah. Okay. It's either probably 18 or 21. In other words, something divisible by 3, since there would be unless there's one in there that's that has all armor size, because usually they have 3 sets in there, one that's heavy, one that's light, and one that's medium. So, in any case, I'd say Cyrodiil is not a place to go to in order to go around and grinding for landscape armor sets, because it'll take forever in there. But I guess there's some people who spend a lot of time in the PvP zone. But for me, probably not much more time. I guess someday I have to go back in there for sky shards. But
We got most of them.
What? We got a good number of them, yes. I think
There's
there's
something
two
like
left.
Yeah, we got over 15 of them.
Yeah. So
Like
I think
15 of 46 or something like that. We got a
right.
good
Yeah, so about a
quantity.
third of the way through. Anyway, so I was very happy though at the end of the day. Anchors Away achievement when that came around through, and finally have all the anchors done after how many years has this game been out? If you have any comments or have any feedback or have any answers to any of the questions that we have asked at some point along our show, you could send a message to podcast@lotraplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have Lotra Players News, and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You guys choice for our shows at lotraplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Piney Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.